Joining us now is a retired New York City police officer and the author of the book, 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. It's Carlton Berkley. We're so glad to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be back.
All right.
Be back, Bob.
You're still working with the 100 Blacks in law enforcement.
No, well, I'm an ex-member,
yes,
a former member of the 100
You still
Blacks.
keep in touch, you know.
Yes.
You founded along with Senator Eric Adams.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
and a number
correct.
of other wonderful people.
Yes.
Still going strong. You're still in touch with the people.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We never know when we're going to be on the same side of the fence. So
Yeah, that's right.
we still maintain some contact.
What to do about this? You know, we had a number of demonstrations over the weekend where a lot of our youth are getting shot, or people in general are getting shot. But a lot of gang violence, a lot of retaliation. Somebody goes over here and shoots somebody from this gang, and somebody over here goes back and retaliates, and somebody retaliates again. You get 3 senseless deaths.
Yes.
What do we do about that? I mean, I know what to do about this, and we'll talk about this too.
Right. Well, what we do about that is that's been a problem for a while, and what we need to do about that, though, Bob, is we need really corporate America who says that they really want to help, then help us. One of the biggest reasons because we have so much violence is because of the unemployment. We always know that when unemployment hits us, it hits us the hardest, right? We got the worst health care, the worst housing. When you have those economic conditions, right, you're going to have violence. You take any nationality and put them in the predicament that we have always been in, and they will be responding the same way.
So this is all due to frustration.
Oh, of course. That's why we have so much violence. Like I said, I'm not trying to make an excuse.
Yeah.
All right, because we're out here along with Senator Eric Adams and some of my other brothers and sisters. We're out here, and although we started educating our people against the injustice of PD, we're still out there, trying to educate our people and try to stir our young people in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But you got to understand where they're coming from too. Like I said, when some of them are living in the worst housing and has the worst medical and can't get a job, I mean, what's the first law that we have of survival? Yeah. Right? You got to go out there and do whatever you have to do.
So instead of building new prisons, we should be doing what?
We should be giving unemployment to the worst that need it. And we don't need more prisons. We already proved that right now, the governor wants to close prisons upstate. So that's telling you that most people, aren't looking towards crime. They aren't. So we want to close those jails up there, but those senators that are from upstate are fighting like heck to keep them open, and there's no reason to keep them open.
Well, the reason probably to keep them open is to support the towns that are surrounding the prisons.
Right, but that's so then what you're saying is that our criminal justice system putting people in jail, is going to stimulate this economy. So then you prey on the minorities to keep everything afloat. Is that really right?
Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm just
right.
I'm the devil's advocate.
I understand.
But if it's on the New York Stock Exchange, we have a problem with that.
Of course.
That it is economics.
That's what I'm saying. The criminal justice plays a big role in the economics of America, but it's built on the destruction of minorities, blacks, Hispanics, and not just them. We have poor whites too, you know, but they're not. They're not, when they do their crimes, they're not publicized as well as we are. But there are Caucasian people out there committing crimes.
You don't see it on TV?
Oh, no, because they want to still depict us as savages out there in our own community. And unfortunately, some of us continue to act like that. Which we have to look at alternative means, and they're out there. Education is one of them. But along with education, because most of us, we have the hardest time in education also. Right. So when you take all of those factors, education, the worst housing, health, unemployment, you're doomed for destruction.
Mm-hmm. So then we get the worst statistics saying that we commit all the crimes. So then you'll get racial profiling. They'll come up to you, they'll check you, and you have a pamphlet, what to do about this.
Right. Well, what we were saying before, supporting those jails up there, So now it's gotten to the point where I said we weren't out there committing that many crimes. So now what the police are doing, is they're going out there violating, Right, and like let me just tell you though, Bob, I always said, most of the police out there, 90% of them are good, hardworking officers, but there are some bad ones. And unfortunately, the police are controlled by stats, right, and by the mayor, right? And if he or the commissioner says that they need a certain amount of arrests, unfortunately, the cops go out there and they go and they enforce that quota system that's always been around.
Yeah.
And when we get that, we get our people, right, put in jail for something that they didn't do, and it falls back on racial profiling. And if they don't go to jail, they wind up dead.
So you got a group of people, innocent, and maybe college students, maybe getting a good education, but they're going out and having a good time, and they're grouped up together, and they get stopped. What do you do?
Well, what they would do is, I always tell everybody to listen to the police, do whatever the police tell you within reason. But you mentioned college student, and unfortunately, we just had one killed at the Pace University. You know, Darnell Henry Jr. And we're involved with that case because we believe that the police were at fault. Because when you interview, and we've been up there and we've interviewed and spoke to a number of students and that were out there, and they were saying that the police officer who fired the fatal rounds when the young man was leaving, was told to leave, the one officer didn't know what the other officer was telling him and jumped in front of that car, right? And when you jump in front of a car, you're just trying to justify your actions, because when you jump on top of a car, the hood of a car that's moving, it would seem to anybody that the person driving is trying to run you over, when in fact you jumped on the hood, you know, and caused the circumstances that which was the end result, which ended in the young man being killed.
So we have this book here, What to Do About This, a survival guide. Give us a little synopsis about what's in this book.
Okay, what's in that book is, because since the Amadou Diallo and the Sean Bell and this incident that I just mentioned, Alberta Sproul, Eleanor Bumpers for the older crowd, these are
Doris
all,
Men and
right, Doris, right. All of these people died at the hands of the police with just a brief encounter, meaning that the police stopped them in the street to question them, and it led up to their demise. How could that happen? You know, so what I did was, I got tired of it while I was in the NYPD, right? And I tried to do something in there, but you're handcuffed, so to speak. So now that I've been retired, I've been going out, and I did this while I was in NYPD. I go out and I educate people on what to do when stopped by the police. And in that book tells you what to do when stopped by the police, if you're walking in the street, if you're driving a car, what the passengers should do in the car, if the police come and knock on your door or break in your house, what you should do if they are, intent on coming in there for whatever purpose, because a lot of times they don't have a search warrant. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do...
You can't let them in if they don't have a search warrant.
Well, you don't have to. Right. They're violating your Fourth Amendment right when they stop you on the street using racial profiling, or break into your house, or stop you in your car, and when they commence to searching you without probable cause, they are violating your Fourth Amendment right, which protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures.
All right, scenario, you got 3 to 4 people in the car, police officer stops you, you smell some marijuana in the car, and they ask you to get out of the car.
Okay, well, first of all, police officers that are in uniform are not trained for narcotics. So usually they can't make that determination of the smell of marijuana. Now what they can do is stop you and maybe call and see if there are some narcotics officers working, right? So they can detain you, right? Because they got somewhat reasonable suspicion. If it doesn't mount up to probable cause, then they shouldn't be searching you. So they can call and have some narcotics officers come to the scene and let them handle the investigation from there. But uniform officers aren't supposed to make those type of arrests.
My brother and I were coming from South Carolina, and we were in Maryland. I had to go on the radio. I do a radio show, and I was rushing back. Wasn't speeding or anything like that, but we got pulled over. I had a van, and sometimes I carry sound equipment in it, because for one reason or another, I don't take it out because I don't want to. I know I have something else to do with it. I have a gig to do or something like that. So we got pulled over, My brother was sleeping in the front seat, had the back seat back, and I was doing the driving, and he said, "Let me see your license and registration." I said, "Well, what's the problem?" He says, "Well, you were going kind of fast." I said, "Kind of fast?" I said, "I was watching my speedometer." I said, "I know how fast I was going." He says, "Can we check your car?" I said, "For what? What? Can we check your car? You got any guns in there?" I said, "No." I'm not. Well, can we check it? I said, "No, I don't have any guns." They kept me out there. Man, it was freezing out there, and they just kept me out there, and until I said, "All right, go in there, but don't put anything in my car."
Oh,
And I had the sound equipment in there, and they said, "Thank you very much, sir," and they let me go. I had received something in the mail a few months after that. I think they had, what do they call it, where everybody's trying to sue the Maryland Police Department for something. I forget what they called it. But they had a lot of complaints. A class action. It was a class action suit. And they wanted you to go back and let everybody know what happened and all that stuff. And they must have had it on camera or something. I don't know. I don't know how they got that.
Well, I wish you would have had steadfast, but unfortunately, see, that's an abuse of power is what the officers did.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning. It was freezing out there. And after a while, I knew I didn't have anything, but I said, "Don't put anything in my car because I don't have anything."
Well, you shouldn't have said that, because what you do sometimes is you tee an officer off, and then they will just lock you up for the catch-22, which is disorderly conduct.
One guy was really nice, but the other guy was like, let me get in that car.
Well, at times that's a game. You have the good officer and you have the bad officer. But I wish you would have had stood your ground, because with me being an ex-law enforcement officer, I would have stood my ground, because I can't determine if you were speeding or not. It's your word against the officer.
Right.
But once he approached you, if it was for speeding, why he was stopping you?
Right. Why didn't you give me the ticket?
Why would he want to look inside the car and search the car? And what officers do so much is they trick people, because see, where they trick you is they said, like you said, "Oh, you got any guns in there?" So now you want to prove that you don't have any guns in there. So you'll tell the officer and you fall for it. Well, no, go and search. No, you know you don't have any guns in there, right? So you don't have to prove anything to the officer. He's just trying to use whatever he could just to search you. And there have been officers, Bob, that have what we call flake, have put something on people, and said that they have it. I have just a couple of news clippings. Look at this one right here, where it says, "Cop pleads guilty to stealing heroin from drug dealers at gunpoint." Wow. So, and this is a Daily News article. And if we have officers out there doing this and doing other inappropriate things, who's to say? And I'm telling you.
And again, those are some of the bad cops, and there are a lot of good cops that you and I know who are on the force.
Exactly, but unfortunately, we have a small percentage of bad cops, and for some reason, they seem to be always in our neighborhoods, in the poor neighborhoods, and we have to do something about that. And NYPD has to face up to having, this problem and dealing with it, instead of trying to just brush it under the rug.
Have you spoken to the commissioner or anything about this?
I've tried to speak with Commissioner Kelly. I've spoken with him a couple of times at some community meetings, and he has said to me to make an appointment to speak with him. And I've tried a couple of times, but I don't think he really wants to sit down with me, because Commissioner Kelly has a problem with the 100 blacks in law enforcement who care, who I am a former member. And I came out with this organization, Brothers and Sisters Who Care. All right. But I don't know if he's holding that against me. I have nothing against Police Commissioner Kelly. I think he's a fine man. But he has to control his officer. And if he wants that top post, when your officers are doing something wrong, you have to accept some of that blame. He seems to be wanting to be commissioner, but doesn't want to accept the blame when his cops are out there violating people.
All right, he's watching you. Tell him what you need, what you want.
What I would like to do, Commissioner Kelly, is to have a sit down with you and members of the minority communities from all 5 boroughs. And you can hear from a former police officer, because you're not going to hear this from an officer that's on the force, because you and I know that officer is handcuffed with what he or she can say. Believe me, it's out there. Stop turning a blind eye to it. And if we don't fix it, unfortunately, right, our people are going to keep suffering, but there's young people out there right now, Bob, that, want to rebel. They want to retaliate. against the police. And I'm out there telling them no, because I know it's not a war that they can win, right? But that's not the way we should go at it. And I would like Commissioner Kelly to have a sit down and see where I'm coming from. And I'm pretty sure once he sees what type of person I am, right, maybe we can work together with getting some of these bad cops off the street and getting a better relationship, bridging that relationship between the police and the community.
Former NYP police officer Carlton Berkley, thank you so much, and author and co-founder of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement Who Care. What to do about this? Yeah, there's that book right there. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back with a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere.
Okay, brother?
Very good, very good. Ah, you reach out to him. Maybe they'll put this on.
Telling you to hear it. They praise the music. This time they play the lyrics. Some say no to the album, the show.